there was always this feeling when I was a young officer that there was something magical or something mystic about leadership. That there was something huge and really important that you had to do to become a good leader. And what I began to figure out after a number of years, and now looking back, is that every day there's an opportunity to learn and to lead. And you have to take advantage of those opportunities each and every day. You know, it's not standing up in front of the formation and motivating, whether it's a squadron or battalion or an entire Marine Expeditionary Force to go do good things. They're going to do that. The leadership really comes from being able to connect with individuals in a genuine way. You know, really listen to them and understand, where they're coming from. And that's universal.
So today's guest is Robert Hedelund, is Lieutenant General retired of the United States Marine Corps. Lieutenant General Robert Hedelund led 38 years, very successful years of active duty service with arguably the most competitive officer corps in our nation's military. During the last 12 years prior to his retirement, he served as one of the only 62 senior level executives from an organization of 180,000 plus personnel. I'm going to repeat that. During the last 12 years prior to his retirement, he served as one of only 62, ladies and gentlemen, senior level executives from an organization of 180,000 plus personnel. Specifically, in the last 4 years, serving in the top 10 individual senior executives guiding the United States Marine Corps into a new age of global peer competition. Reach out to Lieutenant General Robert Hedelund, retired, at this link, which the link is LinkedIn. You can reach out to him on LinkedIn /HEDELUNDRF. Welcome to the show, General.
Thank you, Nicholas, for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here and an honor to be a part of your show.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. And as I said before, I never burn bridges. I believe in building bridges. I was saying before, sir, this last year has just been about networking and building bridges on that. I'm so excited. And look how I came to this right here. So what I want to do, I'm respect your time, General. Which you have years of experience, and we can go on probably another hour to an hour and a half, but I'm just going to get to the basics of leadership. And our listeners, most of our listeners, they're prior military, or they CEOs, or they're just getting out to the fields. Like you have young Marines, which we're going to get the peers, or young leaders that's interested in that subject. So what we do here on this podcast, just make it short, and also on this YouTube channel, we talk about three things: motivation, teaching, and perspective. So I want to get what motivated you to go to the Marine Corps, sir.
Well, thanks. I'd like to say that there was some kind of inborn drive to become a Marine, but that really it wouldn't be true in the beginning. Yeah. Now, what is true though is when I got to college, I had a roommate who was in the platoon leaders class program, a program that preps young men and women to go into the Marine Corps in the officer corps. And that individual, who until the last few years I kept track of, he really got me interested in the Marine Corps as an officer. I was a little bit clueless. My father served in the Navy in World War II. But none of our family had a deep interest in joining the military, but that my roommate, Ron Reeves, a good man, got me motivated to explore the opportunities that would be available as an officer in the Marine Corps. Wow. And furthermore, he was very interested in flying. So our room in college was festooned with posters of marine aviation, and that really got me going because I've always been interested in aviation and flying.
What college, sir? What college, sir? Did you?
We started at I started at Western Carolina University in Cullowhee, North Carolina, out in the mountains.
Wow.
He
Bluegrass, right?
Say again?
Is it called bluegrass in North Carolina? Don't they call it bluegrass? Or the mountains?
Well, it's kind of like the mascot for the school is the catamount. So it's a
Gotcha.
mountain cat kind of and it's a gorgeous place. I was looking to get out of Florida. Anywhere that I could go to get out of Florida, I was pretty happy.
Wow.
And he went on to graduate from that school and go into the Marine Corps and fly tactical jets, the F-4 Phantom in particular. I went back home to South Florida after 2 years there and finished my degree at Florida Atlantic University, which is in my bio, mostly because of funding or lack thereof,
Really?
but also, romantic interests at the time. So,
Okay.
One of those things where,
Right.
and really the overarching thing was by that time I was invested in the Marine Corps, and I just had to get my degree finished so that I could get commissioned and move on to what it would take to join and become, a young officer of Marines. So that's when the reality became very real.
So you already had leadership qualities around you, or you followed people that want to get you to your goals, because it's about sacrifice and getting to that level of progress.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Leadership. So am I correct?
Right. So a little bit like we discussed in our introductory call, there was always this feeling when I was a young officer that there was something magical or something mystic about leadership, that there was something huge and really important that you had to do to become a good leader. And what I began to figure out after a number of years, and now looking back, is that every day there's an opportunity to learn and to lead. And you have to take advantage of those opportunities each and every day. It's not standing up in front of a formation and motivating, whether it's a squadron or battalion or an entire Marine Expeditionary Force to go do good things. They're going to do that. The leadership really comes from being able to connect with individuals in a genuine way, really listen to them and understand, where they're coming from. And that's universal, right? That's not just the military, but that's across all of our culture and our life. Is that
Right.
If we take the time to listen and to genuinely connect with people, the leadership is natural at that point. It's not something that you have to seek out. And you would find, and what I found in my career was over the years, and particularly toward the end, that was really what I got the most inspiration from and the most feedback and satisfaction from, was the connection with individuals and being able to help in whatever small way that I could, but also understanding, where those individuals are coming from and what they needed.
Also walks of life, because you travel all around the world, correct? So it's different types of method of leadership and people of leadership positions that you have met in time. Am I correct? So it's all about adjusting and trying to get some mutual understanding to get progress. Am I correct?
That's very true. Nicholas, in particular, when you're working with another country, and whether it's in a military setting or any other setting, there are some very basic things that you have to establish, and being able to communicate and establish trust and respect is really the key to getting accomplished those things that both countries need to get accomplished. And whether it was our work with Norway when I was at Marine Expeditionary Force in North Carolina, or during some of our deployments where we were overseas, the things that I remember most is the relationships that you built in order to get the mission accomplished. And you can't manufacture that. That's not something that you can just pull off the shelf and execute. It's something that you have to cultivate and build over time. So the repeated connection with people, and again, understanding where they're coming from, while you hope to be able to explain to them what your goals are key. And those first few contacts, if you will, set the stage and lay the groundwork for whatever it is that both countries are trying to accomplish.
Right, because I remember I was telling you before, Team Spirit, where we went to Norway and Korea, and we met different types of Marines from different parts of the world, but we had to learn each other's methods to get the progress going. So that was a good standard. So you actually, sir, answer the next question is, could you teach us some traits of leadership? For example, how do you get someone to follow your lead? And you know what I mean, you know,
right.
whether it's in the Marine Corps or whether it's in business or whether it's your family, one of your family members or whatever, how do you start out? How would you start out? Teach us some methods, sir.
I think, well, the Marine Corps, if you go online and Google leadership traits and leadership principles, they'll pop right up.
Wow.
And there's no magic there. There's no all those things that you go through in a 14 of the principles and the traits. They're all that you kind of look at it and go, well, no kidding. But how do you do that practically? That's a very good question. And I think that what I try to visualize is if I wanted to follow somebody, or if somebody was trying to get me to follow them, what would I want them to do? And I think the number one thing that pops out immediately is don't ask them to do something that you wouldn't do yourself.
That's right.
And not only that, but demonstrate that you're willing to do that. So whether it's sleeping in the mud, flying the difficult missions, having time always to talk with those who might need a few minutes of your time.
Right.
The most famous phrase, or the most phrase that I heard the most as a senior leader is, "Hey, sir, do you have a minute?" And you always have to have a minute for those types of, because for that individual to come up to you, if you were of higher rank, it took a little bit of courage and a little bit of fortitude to say, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to talk to a senior leader. So you always say, of course, I have a few minutes. So if you're willing to do that, you're willing to give time, which is obviously some of the most precious commodity, if you will, that a senior leader or any leader has, any person has, then you give up that time, that individual, I think, is more likely to say, no, he could have said, hey, I got another meeting, I got to go. But he took a minute to speak with me. That's somebody I think that you would want to follow.
That's value. That's valuable.
That's right. It is absolutely. Time is important, and taking time to talk with people and have, again, back to the listening piece, that goes a long way. And I think somebody who would look up to somebody as somebody they would want to follow.
Okay, General, this is deep also. Over your years of leading and being around other leaders, what is a challenge that you faced that you over your time that you can think of offhand that it was a challenge, but you overcame it?
Wow, there's probably a long list of those, but I think the one that
as a leader, you know what I mean, as a leader, like I want to make this where I want to make a level, but this is a challenge for
So we talk a lot about being able to lead, but not micromanage, right? So you want to if you train your Marines, you train your people well, and then the test comes, whatever that test is. And in the case I'm about to explain, it was combat in Iraq, and you hope that training is going to give them what they need in order to be successful and to come home, at the end of their deployment.
That's right.
So
not in a body bag. We want you to come home. Not in a body bag.
That's right. So, but what I found out was there is a you have an inward desire to be on every mission, to fly every sortie, to have, that's your kind of, you're driven to that because you want to be there to protect, right?
That's right.
But you can't. It's just simply impossible to be in every cockpit, to be in every flight, to be on every flight schedule, because there are plenty of other things that were important for the squadron commander, in my case, to take care of and make sure that our headquarters was being kept informed on how we were doing. So really, it drove home to me that trust, training, and empowering those in your charge, in this case in the squadron, to go do what they had to do was very difficult. Almost like a dad letting, the daughter or the son, go away to college.
Right.
You now had to, no kidding, walk the walk, because you've been talking a lot about training and being ready and preparation, ensuring that you did the checklist right, all the things that go along for the successful completion of an aviation mission. In this case, in combat. Now no kidding, they were going to go do it. So what it taught me was you can't be everywhere, and you have to build your team so that they'll be successful when you're not there.
That's right.
And those things that go along with that, and you can pick the expertise area, or whether it's in the civilian world, working in real estate, or whether it's in military going into combat operations, there's preparation that you have to do to be successful. You foster that preparation, you ensure they have the tools that they need in order to succeed, and then you step aside and you let them execute. And that was really driven home to me, that I had to overcome that desire to try to be there, both in the air and on the ground, when I knew that they had the tools to do it. I knew that they had trained well, so I just needed to step back and let them do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's the purpose that we don't realize. That's the purpose of at that time it was 13 weeks training, but that's the purpose of the training. So now you go to the next step or the next mission, and at that same time the mission, you get a refresher or training for your position that's detailed, but at least you have your basics, and that we can trust you to go to that next level, the foundation. So it was a challenge. The same thing I always say in the business, like at this time I'm building a business under me, a virtual assistant, but I'm training he or she for that position, that I can trust them, try to make it simple for them to get back to, like you say, to this base. Am I correct, sir?
Absolutely.
I want to make sure you guys are back here.
Well, at the end of the day, you're not going to be that squadron commander forever. There's going to have some other individual is going to come in and take over that unit. And ultimately, the young pilots and crew chiefs and the maintainers, everybody who made that mission happen and made that deployment happen, they're going to go on and either depart the Marine Corps and go on to life in the civilian world, or they're going to continue a career in the Marine Corps. And you want to ensure that they have the experience that they need, so that should they be offered the opportunity to be a commander someday, or be a section leader someday, or to be an aviation maintenance officer or a maintenance chief, that the experience that they have with you help them grow into those leadership positions, whether it be in uniform or out. And that really, at the end of the day, those are the things, those people that reach back to you after many years and say, hey, sir, you may not think you really helped me much here, but I want to tell you that I was successful in this job because you said these few words that really stuck with me when it was my turn to be a squadron CO, in whatever cockpit it was that was that he or she went to. So that impact that you have, it is in some cases lifelong, and it's really it's the satisfaction that comes with that is pretty tough to beat.
I always say the after effect. That's why I don't, as I said, I don't judge body for what they have in the business, but especially in training the Marine Corps. I thank the Marine Corps because they was hard on me in boot camp, but I thank them to this day. This is the after effect. Look where I'm at now, so that leads to the question of perspective. General, how many years you served? Listen, I want the people listening. How many years you served? How many years before you retired?
So 38 years and
Okay.
9 months.
38 years.
That's
Okay.
right.
That leads to the word perspective. So during those 38 years, what's your perspective on the Marine Corps? How it's changed for the training, like boot camp compared to now, and technology where we got these phones, got computers on. I didn't have this when I was in the Marine Corps, 89 to 93. You say 38 years, things have changed now, So what's your perspective now on today's leadership in the Marine Corps? Or I'm gonna say the Marine Corps, or your perspective in life on leadership.
Right.
It's your call.
That's a really good question. The Marine Corps that I joined in 1983 was very different. And you come from that era, so you know where I'm going.
Right.
There was a lot of goodness there, but there was also a lot of things that were not so good. And when I say that, it was post Vietnam. There were still quite a few Vietnam vets serving, and they were doing their best to bring up this new generation of Marines. But there was a lot of things that could have been improved upon. And most of it, some of that is from funding, from people who had the wrong approach to problems, et cetera, all that. But the good part was the people, were kind of universal across all 38 years. The people are what made me stay. There's plenty of good things, there's plenty of tough things to handle, but there was always the people. So the one constant across this entire 38 years was that the strength of the individual when he or she joins the team, and then the team embraces that individual as a part of the team, was something that always stuck with me throughout the years. The things that changed over the years, are interesting, but like you mentioned, some of the communication capabilities, that first deployment I went on, there was no such thing as email. There's no such thing as
snail mail.
You wrote, you wrote letters. That was the only way that you could communicate. In some cases, you get to the next port, and then you've got that fun experience of trying to figure out how to use another country's telephone system, still pay phones, all that stuff that went along with, standing in line for 30, 40, sometimes an hour so that you get into a phone booth and try to figure out how to use the phone. That's all changed, clearly. Some of that's good. Some of that, is, maybe not so good. Some of the things that come from instant communication, as we all well know, don't always come out as good things, particularly in a combat environment. So when bad things happen, it makes it difficult for the leadership of a particular unit to ensure that they understand what all happened in a bad event before the family finds out about it. So that communication, there's some goodness in having instant communication, but there's also a lot of challenges associated with that. That's just one. I say one. The other thing that I would say just quickly is our gear has changed remarkably for the better. When we were lieutenants and young captains, the stuff that we had was really leftovers from Vietnam. And as time went on, and we got into obviously a couple of conflicts from Desert Storm to Iraq and Afghanistan, et cetera, that the gear that we put on our bodies and that we use to protect ourselves and to engage with the enemy all improved over time dramatically. And I want to say that I think that the Marine Corps leadership has really done a great job in taking the best of the best and trying to ensure that that's what is available for those young men and women who put on our uniform, that they're as prepared as they can be. Preparation, training, all that has really continued to improve over the years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited. Well, gentlemen, sir, I appreciate your time. We talked about what motivated you. We talk about teaching leadership, and you gave us perspective on the day's leadership values. Is there any last words or thoughts or pep talk you can give our listeners before we get off?
Yeah, I think first I want to just thank you for this opportunity, Nicholas.
Thank you,
really
sir.
been a great few minutes of your time, and
Thank you.
but I want people to understand that there's nothing mystical about leadership. Take the opportunity every day to learn something about another person. That is a great step in the right direction for laying down your own leadership style and your own way of communicating with people. And if you do that, you'll begin to realize that the perspective that others offer you will deepen your toolbox, if you will, of leadership skills. So never stop learning, never think you know everything, and try to learn something from somebody every day.
That's right. I know you're going to have a little kind of like a vacation by choice now, but you got anything happening in the next few months or years? What's your goals, or what do you want to
Yeah,
do?
I am. We are trying to take a break here. We are still kind of feathering a nest here in our home that we've chose to retire in, and
Sure.
So we've got plenty to do. But I know I'll want to stay busy at one thing or another. I'll look to try and use the experience that I've had over the last many years to help others, but also to maybe give a few words of advice to those who are looking for a way ahead. So I'm excited. No definite projects, if you will,
Right.
on that front yet. But I'm encouraged by the energy and the time that I'll have available now that I'm off active duty.
That's awesome, General. Hey, I appreciate this time and this wealth of information. I'm fortunate to meet someone such as yourself. But one last word: how can they reach out? They can reach out to you on LinkedIn. How can they reach out to you, sir?
Yeah, I think that's the best way. Initially, I'm not a big. I don't do Instagram or any other stuff.
Right.
So come at me from my LinkedIn account, and then we can start a conversation.
What's your handle, sir? If you don't mind, for your LinkedIn, is it under Robert? What's your handle?
Robert Hedelund. Yep.
Okay.
You can look me up on just my first name and last name. And you mentioned the link to my
Sure.
my account earlier
Okay.
on, and I'm not hard to find.
Okay, I'll make sure I add that on the description, sir. Thanks for your time, sir. I appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm figuring you have a treat here for leadership and perspective. Just life in general. Over 38 years, he's been fortunate, to live life and build value. So, as I said before, don't condemn, don't complain, because you have a choice to make a change. Have a great day.